Hi, welcome to the Andrew Buckle book review of Epic Collection Doctor Strange. This is Alone Against Eternity. Now, it's volume 4 of an epic series of loads of brilliant comics that Marvel bring out. Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, etc. Go through all the way through the Doctor Strange career. However, Volume 2 is not yet available. Volume 1 and Volume 3 and now Volume 4. This came out in 2021. It's got 470 pages. Predominantly all in colour. There's some bonus material at the back and some great stories in this all the way through. Now, the period it's covered is 1975 to 1978 and includes Doctor Strange 6 to 28, Annual Number 1, which is superb, and Tomb of Dracula 44. So you've got Dracula, obviously from the clue from there, and you've also got the Occult History of America, you've got Xander, the Merciless, Clea Goes Mad, you've got the Quadriverse, which was not a story that I particularly enjoyed. I must admit that was one story. However, you've got Dormammu, Umar, and many others. Before I go, I've got the Marvel Masterwork, which sort of covers the same sort of period. Obviously, this got a little bit more, but the artwork in this is superb as well. The brilliant quality restoration, and the restoration is followed through in this as well. Absolutely think this is a superb, colourful. Now, lots of people I know don't like the recolouring, the bright, intense colouring, because they remember the comic books. Well, I remember the comic books as well. But I can't say that if they'd come out like this back in the day, I would have enjoyed them even more. Though I must admit, I expect the prices would have been a bit more expensive on the good quality paper at the time. But however, I loved them then and I love them now. The original comics still exist, so if you want to get them, obviously you can still pick them up. So it would be nice in many ways if they did do an experiment where they bring out one volume in this style, one volume in the old style. And then people could say, oh, I'm going to buy that one, or I'll buy that one. And then they would know which type people would want. I think that sometimes... Anyway, the list of epics gets ever longer and the type gets ever smaller. So you really, at some point, you will have to have a magnifying glass to see it, and then probably a microscope, and then obviously into the quantum universe at that point. So Jarella would be useful at that point. Now, you've got all the various people obviously involved. So you've got Gene Colan, P. Craig Russell. So it's Jim Starlin. I must admit, I'm not certain which one was Jim Starlin. However, apparently, Tom Sutton and many others. Rudy Nebres, which I must admit, brilliant bit of art. And Alfredo Alcala, which was slightly unusual. I really like his artwork normally. However, this one I wasn't so enamoured by it. So there's all the various issues in it. And now on to the book itself. I think the quality of this is just superb. One complaint, and I'm going to go back to this. Oops. Crunched. Damaging the book, bending the cover back. You can see the gutter there, and it's really there's quite a nice gap between it. You can really see that. However, you go to this, and you can really see it's quite crunched. Really, really crunched the centre. I mean, it's not a problem. Obviously, if you had a double-page spread or something, I don't think there's anything like that. But you really, really have hardly any space. You have to really push it out to actually see it. But other than that, superb. The colours jump off the page. Really, really sharp. Line work looks superb. I think it's just absolutely superb all the way through. However, there's another issue as well. And this is probably a very minor issue, but it was a surprise, actually. I don't think I've seen an epic that I've had about 50 epics. And, yeah, got a white line along the thing where it's been slightly misprinted or something. How odd. It's on the back as well, so clearly, obviously, there as well. Don't know if that's with all of them, but it's just odd. Just sort of stands out when you see the white, and especially if you've got a bookshelf where all the black ones all the way along, and then suddenly you can see a white. No, maybe that's nothing, but I just thought it was odd. So you've got the first story, Dormammu and Umar. You got Umar there. And you got Clea and Doctor Strange. Lots of stories where Doctor Strange and Clea, actually it's all the way through the book. That relationship, super strong. Though at times, of course, because he's the Sorcerer Supreme or whatever, he's always concentrating on saving the world, saving the universe and all that sort of stuff. he obviously doesn't have as much time as he should for Clea. And so there's quite a few stories, and there's really quite a nice story where Clea goes mad, as they say. Well, basically she's at least has a central role in the story, where she doesn't really have as many roles as she should. I think there's lots of good scenes in this, but I always felt that it was a character they really underused. They could have used it a lot more, because of course you've got the strong Doctor Strange character. It's his title for a start. They never ever went like Daredevil and Black Widow. They had the title Daredevil and Black Widow. They never went Doctor Strange and Clea. Always a pity, really, I always felt. Master of the cut it off as well. The mystic arts. I just had to quickly confirm that's what he was the master of. The medical arts. It could have been medical arts quite easily. However, you've got this brilliant artwork all the way through this, and you've also got Clea and Doctor Strange there, and you've also got a lovely scene, obviously, from the Avengers 118, where poor old Loki has the full force of the good old evil eye. What a great name for that device, the evil eye. Really? Wasn't that evil? However, mere quibble on that story. But you've got Umar, you've got, of course, Dormammu is, as always, trouble. And also, of course, he wants the Earth. I'm not certain why he always keeps wanting. Isn't he happy with his own dimension? No, he always has to keep expanding out. But he always seems to choose the Earth. There's a lot more places. Go for Mars. Rule that instead. No one, Jupiter. There are all these planets for you. No. However, I always love the way I actually quite love bits, the scenes, and here's some great scenes with, obviously, the cover there. I'm never certain, does he sort of like walking through the Earth at that point? I know there's a scene, but there's quite a few scenes where you see him, and I'm thinking, I know he comes out of the Earth at a certain point. Why, I don't know. However, but it's like, he never seemed, was he on his knees all the time? There's certain scenes where he's like, obviously massive, and then you think, well, why is he? I always have this problem with Giant Man, Goliath, quite often. I'm looking at it thinking, how is he drawn? Why is he slightly bigger? Mere quibble on that. Some great scenes in this. Again, see, I'm just pointing out just to see. You've got there, where you've got Dormammu obviously standing above these people. Now you can see him, obviously, legs walking through there. Then you've got a couple of scenes later where it looks like his legs are stuck in the ground. Make it very hard to move. So, but you've got a brilliant story here, Eternity as well. First, you always had this storyline where you had Dormammu, Umar, and then weirdly Eternity comes along a little bit later. So you've got great stuff. And also Baron Mordo. Of course, he's a bit got problems, Baron Mordo. His storyline, I don't think was particularly, they sort of had him run through the whole on and off. But he's obviously got a few problems, old Baron Mordo there. Also, you've got the good old, can even the Sorcerer Supreme defeat spectres from his grim past? I think they did quite a few stories like that where sort of like he was always, when he was a surgeon, when he was a... You think they would have resolved that storyline once and for all? Look, this is what he is. Just, we're going to do it like once and we're not going to do it anymore. Faces his demons. He's always facing his demons. He's obviously like poor old Tony Stark. However, got a great scene there. Obviously, this is of the period. Obviously, you've got Nixon, which is really weird. Now, of course, if this was a UK comic, they would have changed that face. It would have ended up being Biden now. They would have had to put Biden there, which always never made any sense to me. However, you've got some great panels here, and you've got some lovely scenes with Doctor Strange. And the artwork is just first rate. I love Eternity. Eternity character is great. And I love the way that they're sort of like pals now. Sort of like pals anyway. He certainly can chat with him on a more easy basis. Now, I better turn over that page from that bit because that would spoil the story. And you've got the next story. Eternity turns up quite a bit in the story. There's quite a connection with Eternity. Though, to be honest, not particularly. However, it does create a bit of an issue later on with the storyline where you've got a sort of problem for some of the characters, is the best way to describe it. However, you got Dracula, and you got the story with Dracula, and I love that story of Dracula. Absolutely crackingly good story. You've got a lot of great battles between Doctor Strange and Dracula. Superb. Weird thing is, they don't seem to know particularly anything about each other, which is really odd. I would have thought Doctor Strange would know a lot about Dracula. I mean, he is the top guy of vampires. You'd think he would know of him. Anyway, obviously, and also vice versa, you know, I mean, he's only the Sorcerer Supreme. I mean, you thought that Dracula does involve himself with an awful lot of magic and those sort of things. He would know about Doctor Strange. Where there's smoke, and you've got, of course, lots and lots of great, actually a lot of red in this because you've got Satan, Satan storyline. You've got obviously a grim looking, obviously just above that building there. On to the next one. This, I love this story. This is a great story. There's a story where they start going back in time, where they go back to like the 17th century, etc., just to sort of work out how America starts. And you've got Franklin as well, Benjamin Franklin, which is just great, really great storyline. The villain in it is absolutely hopeless, whatever his name is, Stygro, something. It's also, you've got this character called Xander, another character which is just awful. The only good thing about Saving Grace, which this storyline at this point, was some of the artwork. Rudy Nebris, I love that. That was just superb. But Xander itself and that Quadverse story did not do anything for me, I have to say. Possibly because at that point, my interest in Doctor Strange slightly waned a bit. I remember at the time when I got these comics, I just thought they were great. Still, I enjoyed it, but it was part of me, I thought, oh, this story I don't like. However, it does lead to the annual, which for me, this is the key thing in this whole book, which is slightly odd because it's a story that's completely disconnected from all the rest of the storyline. But you've got Doctor Strange on his, against this. And it's very brilliantly drawn. Now, the cover is the worst thing about it. I have to say the cover did nothing for me. I think I always look at that and think, not a favourite cover. However, just best P. Craig Russell, just glorious, glorious storyline all the way through. Always been reminding me of Elric of Melbourne, whatever it is. You know, that sort of Michael Moorcock story. However, there's that element of that. No, not that the story is anything like that story. However, it just had that feel to it for me. Mind Trap. There's no sword in it, Stormbringer or anything like that. So there was no connection at all, but it just felt. However, you've got the next story, Mind Trap. I love the artwork. I have to say, the story just didn't do much for me. It's Mind Trap story. And there was, however, you do, I suppose, to be fair to it, you've got lots of elements of like Steve Ditko, though personally I always felt Steve Ditko did those sort of alien dimensions so much better than this. It just didn't do. I didn't warm to the storyline, I have to say. Right, on to the next, and this is the Return of the Ancient One. You've got this great scene there with this guy, obviously looking a bit like Doctor Strange, but stuck up against his bookshelf. He's probably, obviously, Doctor Strange has obviously forgotten. He's gone into one of his trances, doing some bit of a trance there. Now you've got good old, I'm not going to say that would ruin that story, but you, however, got this, maybe not the world's greatest story, however, brilliant artwork, really, really brilliant artwork. And this is the in-between the story, Tom Sutton, penciler. I just absolutely loved this in-between the story, the artwork. Because the story-wise, in terms of I was not enamoured by that. Didn't do much for me, but the artwork was brilliant. Sometimes that's the case. Quite often you get a comic book and you think, I love the artwork. The artwork is just masterful. But the story does nothing. However, the bonus material at the back, weirdly, they've included, well, I suppose not too weirdly, you've got giant-sized Doctor Strange. Obviously, these are various reprints. Strange Tales 164 to 168. And then you've got the others. I actually bought them at the time, I remember buying. And this was really probably my first exposure, really, to Doctor Strange. Because I think we had the UK reprints probably in the Avengers Weekly by that point, maybe. But these were obviously the colour ones. These stories, I was thinking, wow. I bought quite a lot of reprints, which I probably shouldn't have done. I should have actually bought the originals They weren't that expensive at that time from Strange Tales, the early ones. So you've got quite a few of the reprints, and then you've got some brilliant artwork there, black and white, absolutely glorious. Actually, looks even better. I've seen some of. I always think sometimes a pity that they can't bring out an epic collection of just all of the pages, if they had them, of course, of the original artwork. That would be superb. I guess some of it is probably, but you would think by this period, 1978, 77, etc., that there was a lot of this artwork was still available and still stored. I just have to say that the artwork is just first rate. Just beautiful, seeing the original ink page. And there's also a lovely one here, an unused pencil artwork by P. Craig Russell. That's just beautiful. Glorious. Oh, so it's here, P. Craig Russell originally planned the story that became that Doctor Strange Annual Issue 1. I didn't realise this. 3 20-page issues. Was reworked as a single 35-page. Oh, how disappointing. I mean, the annual was great, but if it had been obviously 3 issues of 20 pages, that would have been 60 pages. Wow, that would have been a real brilliant work. That would definitely be one that would be should be collected into a massive gallery edition or something like that. However, I guess that's sometimes the way things are. Doesn't always happen. And you got, I don't know what this one is, unused cover art. Oh, another one, Doctor Strange. That looks brilliant. Sometimes when you look at these things, you often see these alternate covers that you think, why didn't they use that one and not the other one? Because Doctor Strange is very prominent in this thing. And you've got the villain sort of like, though I suppose a bit, maybe the reason why they chose not that one is it doesn't look particularly powerful. She's sort of standing there and just sort of trying to form a spell. Maybe that's the reason why they didn't. No, that's brilliant as well. Oh, Jim Starlin one and Rudy Nebris from issue 20. Right. Wow. I have to say this is one of my favourite epic collections ever. This is superb. I loved every single story in this, nearly, other than the Godverse one. That storyline and Xander bit, that was just rubbish to me. All the rest of it was the best. Just brilliant artwork all the way through as well. So, totally recommended. Masterpiece collection of epic proportion. Brilliant.